Hey everyone, and welcome back to Love Hackers. I'm Alex Carter,
And I'm Sophie Tanaka.
back again with your daily dose of dating advice.
That's right. And today we're taking a deep dive into a topic that gets a lot of people talking.
Yeah, dominance in dating.
Hmm.
And I know that can sound kind of intimidating
Yeah.
or even a little bit controversial,
Yeah, definitely.
but stick with us
Yeah,
because we're going to break it down. We
absolutely.
really want to understand this whole idea of what healthy dominance actually means.
Right, exactly. We're not talking about being controlling or aggressive.
Right.
What we are interested in is how this concept of dominance plays into attraction between men and women.
So we were reading this article and they were talking about this idea of masculine and feminine energies and how they kind of create this dynamic called sexual polarity.
Exactly. And that polarity is what creates that spark, that magnetic pull between two people.
Like the secret sauce of attraction.
Exactly.
So let's break down these energies a little bit. When we talk about masculine energy,
Yeah.
what are we really talking about?
Well, think about taking the lead, being assertive, making decisions.
Okay, so a man who's comfortable in his own skin, knows what he wants, and goes for it.
Exactly.
Now, what about the feminine energy? Where does that come in?
So feminine energy is more about being receptive, expressive, and nurturing.
It's about being open and allowing yourself to be led, but not in a submissive or passive way, right?
Exactly. It's about finding that balance between leading and being led.
And that's where this whole idea of dominance can get really interesting. Because this dance between dominance and receptivity can play out in some pretty fascinating ways.
Absolutely. And one way we see this is through something called testing.
Testing,
Yes.
like an exam.
Not quite, but close. You see women often subconsciously test a man's dominance.
Wait, are we talking about playing games here?
No, not at all. It's more about a woman instinctively wanting to make sure a man can hold his own, that he's not going to crumble under pressure or become insecure.
So she's like throwing down a gauntlet and seeing if he'll rise to the occasion.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm already intrigued. Give me an example.
Okay, so imagine a woman is acting a little cold or distant.
All right, playing hard to get.
A man who's secure in his masculine energy won't panic or chase after her approval.
Okay.
He'll remain calm, confident, and maybe even playfully tease her back.
So it's like reverse psychology.
Kinda.
Mm.
Because what she's really looking for is that unshakable core, that inner strength, that doesn't waver even when she's pushing his buttons a little.
So he's showing her that he's not intimidated by her strength or independence.
Exactly.
Okay, so instead of trying to please her at every turn or getting all flustered by her tests,
Yeah,
he should just stay true to himself,
exactly.
maintain his confidence, and even have a little fun with the whole dynamic.
Because when a man can do that, it creates excitement, intrigue, and yes, even a little bit of that emotional tickle we talked about earlier.
So we've got this idea of testing as a way for women to kind of gauge a man's dominance.
Right.
But how does this all relate to that age-old question of nice guys versus bad boys? Is it really true that women are drawn to the bad boys?
Well, I wouldn't say it's about being bad in the traditional sense. It's more about embodying those assertive, dominant traits that can be so alluring.
So like the stereotypical bad boy.
Yeah, think about it. He's often portrayed as someone who takes risks, speaks his mind, and isn't afraid of confrontation.
Right. He's not afraid to express his desires.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, we're not condoning any disrespectful or harmful behavior.
absolutely not.
But there's something to be said for that confident, unapologetic energy.
Right. It's about owning your masculinity, not being afraid to lead and making decisions.
And that ties back into this whole idea of sexual polarity, right?
Exactly.
A woman who's comfortable in her feminine energy will often find those qualities incredibly attractive.
It's about finding a partner who can create that exciting dynamic tension.
Okay, so it's not that women are specifically looking for bad boys.
Right.
They're drawn to men who embody that strong masculine energy.
Exactly. Regardless of whether they fit into any particular stereotype.
And that's where things can get even more interesting when we start talking about how these dynamics actually play out in the real world of dating and relationships.
Absolutely.
Like when those initial sparks start to settle into something more substantial,
Right.
how do these dynamics of dominance and attraction play out in those moments?
That's a great question. And that's where we're going to dive deeper next. We'll be exploring how these dynamics of dominance and attraction play out in the heat of the moment, particularly during arguments.
Ooh, arguments.
And even in the bedroom.
Oh my. Love Hackers. You don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. Okay, love hackers. Welcome back. We were just getting into how those dynamics of dominance and attraction play out in a relationship and how things get really interesting when we talk about arguments
Yeah, argument.
or even in the bedroom.
I mean, think about it. They say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference.
Right.
So when you're having those heated moments, those sparks flying, it's a sign that the energy is still very much alive.
So you're telling me arguments can actually be a good thing?
Well, let me put it this way. When a couple can navigate those disagreements in a way that keeps that healthy tension going,
Okay.
it can actually make their bond even stronger.
Okay, but how does that work? I mean, conflict isn't exactly the most romantic thing.
Well, think about those classic makeup scenes in movies. It's those moments of heightened emotion that push and pull that lead to the most passionate reconciliation.
Oh, so you're saying those fiery exchanges can actually be a form of expressing that sexual polarity.
Exactly.
Okay, so walk me through this. How does an argument actually enhance attraction? It seems a little counterintuitive.
Okay, so picture this. A couple's having a disagreement, right? The woman is expressing her feelings, maybe getting a little heated.
Okay?
And the man, instead of just shutting down or trying to please her,
Yeah.
he stands his ground, he listens to her, but he also confidently expresses his own thoughts and feelings.
So it's not about being stubborn or refusing to compromise.
No, no, no.
It's about holding on to his own sense of self
Exactly.
and not letting her emotions completely run the show.
Because in that moment, he's showing her he's not intimidated by her emotions or her strength.
Okay.
He's meeting her energy with his own and creating that tension.
Ooh, that tension.
That can be so electrifying. And often that tension leads to some pretty amazing makeup sex.
Makeup sex, the ultimate reconciliation.
Right. It's like that clash of energies that push and pull builds anticipation and desire.
It's like a release valve for all that pent-up energy.
Exactly. And when both partners are tuned in to their masculine and feminine energies,
Yeah.
it can be an incredibly intense and satisfying experience.
So we've talked about arguments,
Right.
but how does this dynamic play out in the bedroom, when things are already heated up?
Well, remember how we talked about women testing a man's dominance?
Yeah.
That can definitely show up in the bedroom too. And it's important to say we're talking about healthy consensual dynamics where both partners are on the same page and enjoying the experience.
Of course, consent is key. But are you saying that some women actually enjoy a degree of dominant behavior in the bedroom?
Absolutely. It goes back to that desire for a man who can confidently take the lead, who can create a sense of excitement and surrender. It's not about control or force.
Right.
It's about a woman feeling safe enough to let go, to be swept away by his strength and confidence.
So it's like a dance where she's letting him lead, trusting him to guide the experience.
Exactly. And for the man, it can be incredibly empowering to feel that trust and surrender from his partner.
Okay, so far we've talked about how this dynamic of dominance and attraction can really heat things up in arguments and in the bedroom.
Right.
But what happens when that spark, that sexual polarity starts to fade in a relationship?
That's when things can get tricky because when that balance between masculine and feminine energy starts to shift,
Yeah.
it can lead to a disconnect, a sense of boredom or even resentment.
So it's not just about the initial attraction.
I know.
Maintaining that healthy tension is essential for keeping the relationship exciting and vibrant over time.
Exactly. And one of the biggest dangers to that spark is something called depolarization. It's when those distinct masculine and feminine energies start to blur and the roles within the relationship become less defined.
Depolarization.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm listening. What does that look like in a relationship?
Let's say a couple's having an argument, right? And instead of standing his ground and expressing his perspective, the man constantly gives in, apologizes, and tries to smooth things over at all costs.
Okay.
On the surface, it might seem like he's being the nice guy keeping the peace.
Right.
But he might actually be unintentionally undermining the very thing that drew his partner to him in the first place.
So it's not about never apologizing or refusing to compromise.
Right.
It's about holding on to that core sense of self, that masculine energy that she finds attractive.
Exactly. And the problem with constantly submitting is that it can create an imbalance in the relationship.
Right.
If he's not stepping into that masculine role, she might feel compelled to fill the void.
And then instead of that dynamic push and pull,
You end up with a power struggle. And that's definitely not a recipe for a passionate, fulfilling relationship.
okay, this is fascinating stuff. So for those listeners out there who might be realizing they've fallen into this pattern of depolarization,
Right.
is there any hope? Can they reignite that spark?
Absolutely. It's all about awareness, and making a conscious choice to restore that healthy balance of masculine and feminine energy. And that's what we'll explore next. We'll be talking about how men can cultivate a more dominant presence in their relationships without becoming aggressive or controlling. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, love hackers. So we've been talking about maintaining that spark, that sexual polarity in a relationship,
Right. And how important that balance of masculine and feminine energies is.
and how things can kind of go south when that balance gets thrown off. Like we were talking about depolarization.
Exactly. And, we've established that many women are attracted to at least a certain level of dominance in a man. But how does that actually look in a healthy relationship?
Right, because the word dominance can have some icky baggage.
Yeah.
It doesn't exactly scream respect and equality.
Hmm.
So how do we reconcile this idea of wanting a dominant partner with having a relationship that's built on, mutual respect?
It's all about understanding that true dominance isn't about overpowering your partner. It's about owning who you are, what you want. It's about being self-assured,
Right.
stepping into your masculine energy
Yeah.
with confidence and consideration.
So finding that sweet spot between being assertive but also respectful.
Exactly.
But for guys who maybe aren't so comfortable with this whole dominance thing,
Yeah.
what are some practical things they can do to cultivate that presence in their relationships?
It all starts with self-awareness. Take a look at what are your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your passions.
Okay.
When you have a strong sense of who you are, it boosts your self-esteem
Yeah.
and gives you that inner confidence that women find so attractive.
So it's not about trying to fit into some box of what you think masculinity should be.
Right.
It's about being genuine, embracing your unique strengths and letting them shine through.
Exactly. And another important piece is setting boundaries,
Boundaries.
being clear about your needs and expectations, and not being afraid to say no when something doesn't feel right.
Because saying yes to everything, even when you don't really wanna, can make you seem kind of wishy-washy.
Right.
Like you're not comfortable in your own skin.
Exactly. Women want a partner who's secure enough to express their needs and desires, who's not afraid to stand up for what they believe in.
So finding that balance between being accommodating and assertive.
All right. And this applies to all areas of life, not just romantic relationships.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It will help you in your career, your friendships,
Yeah.
even with your family. It's about knowing your worth and expressing it.
So we've got self-awareness, boundaries.
Yeah.
But what about when you're in a situation where you need to make a decision, take the lead? How do you do that in a way that feels authentic?
Confidence. And confidence is not arrogance or being domineering. It's about trusting your gut and making decisions based on what you believe is right.
So instead of second-guessing yourself or looking to your partner for approval all the time,
Right.
just trust your judgment and lead from a place of strength.
And you know what? Women find that really attractive.
Yeah.
When a man can make a decision without all the hemming and hawing,
Yeah.
it shows he's comfortable with himself and capable of taking charge.
Okay, so all of this makes sense in theory, but let's get practical. For guys who are out there dating, how do they show that they embody this healthy, attractive dominance?
It starts with how you carry yourself. Remember those qualities we talked about? Decisiveness, assertiveness, confidence.
Right.
Those should be evident in everything you do, from making eye contact to planning a date.
So more, I don't know, what do you want to do?
Exactly. Have a plan. Take the lead.
Got it.
And don't be afraid to be playful, a little challenging.
Oh yeah, those tests.
Women who are attracted to this kind of energy enjoy a little back and forth. They want someone who can match their wit.
So instead of trying to be super agreeable or constantly seeking approval,
Right.
have a sense of humor. Push back a little.
Tease her challenge, her assumptions. Show her you're not intimidated by her strength or independence.
It's all about creating that spark, that tension.
Yeah.
Speaking of keeping things exciting, we've got to talk about the physical side of attraction. How does all of this play out in the bedroom?
Remember we talked about women wanting to feel that sense of surrender, of being swept away by their partner's masculine energy.
Yeah.
Well, that can show up in all sorts of ways in the bedroom. It's about finding what works for both of you.
So open communication exploration.
Exactly. And always remember, consent is absolutely crucial. But when you have that trust, that understanding, exploring those roles can be a really powerful way to deepen your connection.
This has been eye-opening. We've covered so much.
We have.
Understanding what dominance really means.
Right.
How these dynamics play out in relationships.
It's all about balance.
And I think the key takeaway here is that healthy relationships thrive on that balance of masculine and feminine energies.
Absolutely. It's about both partners feeling seen, heard, and appreciated for who they are.
Exactly. Love hackers, it's not about fitting into a mold or playing games. It's about being yourself, cultivating the qualities that make you attractive, and trusting that the right person will be drawn to you.
And if you're willing to put in the effort to understand yourself and what you want, you can create a love life that is both passionate and fulfilling.
Well said. And that's a wrap on another episode of Love Hackers, your go-to guide for all things dating and relationships. I'm Alex Carter.
And I'm Sophie Tanaka.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this episode with anyone who might need a little love hack. We'll see you next time.